you will see a variety of instruments on the cap table, and it's critical for founders to understand how these instruments sort of work. So you might see equity and preference shares, like I mentioned. So equity shares or common equity shares are more with the founders, maybe with friends and family, if you're from the friends and family now. Most professional investors will prefer to invest in a preference share for the reasons which I talked about in the prior slide, because they want certain rights which are superior to the rights held by the equity share members. That is possible by law only when I hold a different class of securities and I hold a preference share. For the most part, the investment will be in the form of a compulsorily convertible preference share. And that's the preferred form of investment for most investors, international as well as domestic. But if you have domestic investors, there may be a redeemable instrument as well, an instrument which is like a hybrid between debt and equity. So it's critical to sort of understand what sort of instruments investors are offering. Of late, this is becoming a fairly established concept of having differential voting rights. So it's still not very common, but I would still say maybe 5 to 10% of companies actually explore this as an option, where the investor sees and the founder sees their stake getting diluted over a period of time. But they still don't want to leave the managerial control of the business. They don't want to give up the voting rights of the business. So you may issue shares with the differential voting rights. So you may issue a compulsorily convertible preference share, which only has 1/10 of the voting rights as equity shares. So your economic ownership gets diluted. Your investors may hold 70% stake in the company, but as a founder, you still hold 51% voting rights in the company. So this is a slightly exotic class of instruments, but it is something which some companies are actually considering, especially companies where the founder feels that they may slip below a certain minimum threshold. You may see convertible notes on your cap table. Convertible notes effectively more used during a bridge round of funding. You go to your existing investors and tell them that I am probably 1 year away from, let's say, my Series B round of funding. Can you please bridge me, give me an additional, let's say, $2 million to ensure that I have enough dry powder and I'm able to consummate my Series B at the best valuation possible. So investors may give you a bridge round in the form of convertible notes, where they don't set a valuation for the company. It's convertible based on a valuation to the next round of funding. So the convertible notes again will have a redemption option as well. So if you're not able to carry through a Series B, and thereby the convertible notes will convert, let's say at a discount to that round of funding. If that does not happen beyond a certain defined time frame, then the investors may actually ask for the right to take back the capital, to call back the capital, maybe with a minimum return of sorts, or to actually convert it at a very low valuation, or let's say the last round valuation. So that's something which you see from a convertible note perspective. You don't set a valuation for it, but typically used during bridge rounds. You also see agreements in a similar fashion called SAFEs, popularized by YC in the US and also present in India, a simple agreement for future equity. In India, this takes a form of a standard CCPS, with the only difference being that I don't set the valuation and I don't set the number of shares and the stake at this point of time. I make it contingent on the next round of funding and I take a certain discount to that valuation when I look at the stake and the conversion for this instrument. The difference between a convertible note and a SAFE is that a SAFE typically doesn't have a redemption option. It will have to convert at a certain base value if you're not able to carry it through the next round. And you may also see warrants on the cap table, typically given to founders as a means, as an incentive for them to enhance their stake and to claw back, let's say, some stake back from the investors if the company is doing well. So it's important for founders to understand what are the sort of options available to them and what investors are offering them in terms of an investment structure.
Revolutionize your startup's equity management with Qapita. Request a demo today.